The leader back after this.
We are also, I think we just saw Lyondike, by the way, duck into the pits here.
I believe it was.
Yeah, duck real quickly in there, and he'll give up his position in line, but it really doesn't mean anything at this moment. We're across the lake from Niagara Falls when we're here in the Toronto area, and we're also in the shadows of the world's tallest, if you saw the open, tallest freestanding structure, the CN Tower, 1,800 feet in the air. And really the skyline of downtown Toronto is quite beautiful and something to behold, particularly here on the lakeshore. We're on the southern part of the city, the northern edge of Lake Ontario, and it's really quite a beautiful setting for a city and really a nice place for an automobile race.
Well, several drivers have dropped out of this event already. Jacques Villeneuve crashed out on the first lap. Jose Garza is no longer in contention. Jeff Brabham had a gear-shifting linkage problem. Mike Nish, of course, has crashed, and that's the reason we are under yellow. Randy Lanier shown as out of the race. However, I believe that just in the last few moments, he has rejoined the race, and so has Jeff Brabham. So only 3 of those 5 listed there are actually out of the race. Both Brabham, as you can see from our in-car camera, he is still out there on the racetrack, and so is Randy Lanier.
Here we are inside of Jeff's car as he motors around this 1.8-mile course under yellow. Gives you another opportunity to take it in. Let's see where we are here. We're going across turn number 6 and 7.
Yeah, we're headed for turn number 6.
Yeah, there's the CN Tower in the background, 1,800 feet up.
Meanwhile, Jack Arute has been investigating down in the pit area, has a further update from that location. Let's go back down to Jack.
Remember when we told you early on that Emerson Fittipaldi has been without use of his radio? Well, his crew cannot communicate with him. He cannot communicate with them. That's why they're using the pit board to signal that he will have to come in for the stop-and-go penalty. It will hurt him, but it won't hurt him as much as it would have if it had been under total green flag conditions. Of course, right now, Emerson Fittipaldi's got to be sitting in the cockpit of the car wondering just why he's being brought in. It will be a very quick session. It won't hurt him too bad, but here's the key, and this is when our microphone went out, what Barry Green was alluding to. The fast action by Bobby Rahall's crew when they brought him in during the initial period of this caution. They brought him back out, and even though he's way in the back of the pack running right now behind the pace car, he's literally got a very sizable lead over Al Unser Jr. and Michael Andretti. If this thing goes down to green very shortly, it could be a great advantage for Bobby Rahal and a tough break for Emerson Fittipaldi.
All right, that's good information and clears up the questions that we had earlier about whether or not Rahal is in the lead, and if so, if he has almost a lap lead on the entire field, and indeed he does. Last time I counted, he was 19th in line here, so it is almost a full lap advantage for Bobby Rahal.
We are back inside of Jeff's car. There's that same shot. We're approaching that same shot again. Watch for that long needle-type spire that will be right ahead of Jeff's head. This is the coming out of the long sweeper of turn 5, 6. We're already past that point where you'll see the CN Tower. There's Jeff motoring. No, there it is. I was right the first time. Turn number 8. Again, parallel with the pits with the front stretch. And you take a hard right-hander. You go 500 feet. You brake, upshift, downshift to turn number 9. Turn number 9 leads into 10, which is a right-hander. You can see the CN Tower again. There's a pedestrian bridge. The entry to the pits is just off to the right. You just passed it. This is the front stretch. Watch for the dogleg on the left. You see it's a blind corner. If we were at speed, you'd be accelerating up to 140, 150, 155 miles an hour. There is the Princess Gate, one of the more scenic parts of this race course. There's the crash site where Mike Nish has crashed. You see those white splotches every once in a while. This track wasn't completely perfect. The big heavy tires, let's call them heavy, of course, an Indianapolis car is well under a ton in weight, but with all the downforce and pressure that the cars and tires were putting onto this racetrack, even though it was smooth and there were a lot of places where it was like satin out there, the track did begin to come apart just a bit. And there were 5 places overnight, Bob, where they actually performed some repairs, and everybody was pretty pleased with it. Everyone feels that the organizers here have done an excellent job on track preparation.
As you can see, Mike Nish has not yet been taken from that race car. I would say that it's been, at least 15, maybe even 20 minutes since this accident occurred. There appears to be some movement, though, now, and it could be that Nish is being lifted from that race car as we speak, and will be put on a stretcher and taken to the local medical facility. I believe we can see him, and it appears as if he is conscious. Of course, they do have an IV started to try to stabilize him and keep him from going into shock. But it appears as if Mike Nish is conscious. Hopefully, if he did suffer any injury at all to his lower extremities, the legs or the feet, that they're not serious. But Nish right now being taken from the car and loaded onto the stretcher.
Mighty long weekend. We told you that Michael had crashed on Friday, and I told you the story about crew chief John Barnes. And there's Steve Edwards there in the lower right-hand side of your screen telling everybody to stand back. Things are under control here. It's okay. John Barnes spending so much time this weekend working to get the car repaired. There wasn't a backup car as such available for Michael. They wanted to get Michael in this race, so Zaley was out in the team car practicing and working hard all week, and they spent all that extra time and all those long hours, and now this comes about.
It appeared as if his left leg had one of those inflatable casts or whatever you want to call it on it to eliminate the pain, so probably some injury to his legs and feet, but as we say, we of course hope that nothing real serious. Now that Mike has been extracted from the race car, we have to clean up the debris before we go back to green, so it'll be probably a couple more laps before we do that. We'll take this break and be right back in a moment. The Molson Indy from Toronto, Ontario, has been delayed and slowed because of an accident involving Mike Nish. The car is being taken from the racetrack. There is heavy damage in the front end. Mike has been extricated from the car, but we have no further medical information on him. 51 laps have been completed. Bobby Rahal with almost a full lap lead on the rest of the field. Running in second position is Emerson Fittipaldi, and third is Al Unser Jr. Let's go to Jack Arute, who's working in the pit area.
This pace car controversy continues to boil over and over the pot. Now, let me update you on the situation. We've talked to you several times from the pits here and told you that Emerson Fittipaldi will be brought in for a stop-and-go penalty. Well, we've talked to the Patrick team. Pat Patrick has told me that he's asked not to appeal it, but he's asked for CART to consider this as a solution. In addition to taking on the stop-and-go penalty, he feels that Bobby Rahal should be kept behind the pace car and the rest of the field allowed to go around. Therefore, Rahal would not have what literally is a lap and then some advantage on the rest of the competition. CART has taken that under advisement. Meanwhile, Rahal has come in, topped off his fuel tank, and maybe that will resolve the situation as well, because now he will catch up to the back of the field. It's really confused down here. When you talk to the CART officials, all they say is, we're taking it under advisement. A very big word with a big question mark behind it.
Well, it is an interesting situation. There are only 21 cars on the track, and Rahal was running around the 19th car on the track before he came in, and now Tom Sneva is behind him, so I think he's in 20th spot, so he didn't lose anything by going in for that pit stop, and really was not penalized at all for doing so again. But this is an interesting scoring snafu that has occurred.
Bob, there are a lot of other interesting sidebars here that potentially might be going on. The slower laps, of course, are stretching the fuel mileage. It gives the teams who really want to roll the dice, maybe when they make their last pit stop, to stretch it as far as they can and not put in a full load on that last stop and maybe make the car lighter and go quicker. Plus, all these laps at slow speed, these Indy cars are extremely delicate. Could cause some overheating problems. There's been a question on the placement of the wastegates on these cars this year, the overheating of the cars running slower. There's a lot of factors that might build up here because of this very lengthy caution flag.
We will go back to green next time around. We've completed 52 laps, so when we go back to green, it'll be lap number 53. This is a 103-lap race. We are just past the halfway point, and we'll have 50 laps to go when the green flag is displayed once again. Pace car leading them down the backstretch now.
Now the question remains, those guys up front who are the quick cars, Little Al, Michael, Emo, depending on what happens in regards to the pace car controversy, will they be able to get all the way around because they'll have a clear track and catch up to Rahal, or will Rahal get through slower traffic so quick he'll be able to maintain this almost one lap advantage? It's still puzzling how you can be criticized for passing the pace car when you continue to run behind it.
Well, it also ruins a good race because Fittipaldi and Rahal and Michael and Little Al were running very close together on the racetrack, but now with this situation,